Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the stream. Davis Mattek and one Mr. Alex Hardin with you here today. We're going to be running back the similar concept from the stream yesterday, where we did Best Bowl Mania on Underdog Fantasy. The contest is already 17% filled. My goal, I would love for this contest to fill by Saturday. Alex, I'm in a geo-locked state, so I can't draft in this. I'm going to go enter as many slows as possible. I'm going to Chicago this weekend, so I'll be there. I'll probably upload your rankings actually, and just draft a bunch of teams, and I will try not to dupe you.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about dupes. It is absolutely insane in these drafts right now. It's just you never know what to expect. But yeah, I'm certainly trying to do my part to fill this contest as well. I was hoping for something a little bit bigger, but we'll take what we can get as a starting point, show them we can fill it, and then move on from there. But yeah, it's college football best ball. Who would have thought?
I mean, it's existed for a long time, but not in a guaranteed prize pool structure. Like I was like, when this launched yesterday, I was like, wow, for guys like Bainbridge, for guys like Froton, for guys like Thor. I mean, they've had all this knowledge forever, and now they finally have a way to monetize it,
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know this stuff existed, but like doing like those 30-round drafts, like an enclosed league doesn't quite do it for me early in the season. So I like the concept of like the large field format. I think it introduces a lot different strategy, and it's kind of a meeting point between people who focus more on like DFS like me, and then others who kind of grind the college football fantasy from a season-long perspective. So there's aspects of each type of game I think you have to include in your strategy, but it's definitely far from solved, obviously. I don't know if there's a correct approach at this point, just based on like the drafts go different ways. So just trying to kind of take it all in and put together a strategy I think makes sense and try different things out.
I think trying different things out will ultimately lead to the best results because, I mean, you want to talk about a game that is not solved. College football Superflex, 20 roster formats.
Yeah.
Like so we have no research. We know nothing.
Yeah. So the biggest wrench in this thing is that the playoffs start in week 12 and about
Yep.
20 teams have buys. Like imagine you're drafting like NFL best ball drafts and like the first round of the playoffs, like half of the top 30 players in the pool have fucking buys on the first game of the playoff week. So trying to incorporate stuff like that into my own personal ranks is kind of challenging because you don't really want to have a lot of guys who are going to miss playoff weeks, obviously, when you're advancing like 2 out of 10 and 2 out of 8 in playoff pods.
Well, there is an analog to it. In the FFPC main event, the playoffs start in week 14 for NFL. Okay. And there are a lot of great, this year, the Ravens, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Broncos, and 2 other teams have week 14 buys. And not all of but like Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, like, what do you do knowing that the first week of the playoffs, like,
is that a new thing for this year?
No, it's the week 17 schedule that did it. Gotcha. It's the change to week 17 that made the first week of the playoffs a bye week. And I mean, I don't think anyone has a conclusive answer to that, and I don't think anyone has a conclusive answer to this yet either.
Nice. We got a couple of legends in this draft. We got Bud Elliott picking out of the 7th hole, and then Wakey in the 9th hole. So I'm surrounded by people who know some college football for sure. But
Bradley Maddox is a subscriber to this channel, and the 6th hole CLN 2013 is a sub as well. So this is a little bit of friends and family.
Nice. I've been going after like Garrett Green late in the first round when I get like the 8 through 10, but he went off the board rather early here. So might have to pivot a bit. I think I've been rating quarterbacks a bit higher than the field. So I'm trying to balance that with like actually being able to take receivers at a reasonable rate. So here we're on the clock. Jackson Dart is one of the quarterbacks who has a week 12 bye.
He's got the bye, but let's just take 4 quarterbacks. Let's take 2.
Buddy, we're taking 5 quarterbacks. But
5 quarterbacks. Okay.
What do you think between Giddens and Dart?
Dart for sure. I think my experience in doing the draft with Froton and Bainbridge yesterday is that there's not a guy with the ceiling of Omarion Hampton or Devin Neal or any of these guys, later. But there are a bunch of guys who, in the ETR projections are going to project for 17.6 half PPR points in week 8 or whatever, like way down the board.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm leaving any drafts without a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, really. So I'm definitely on board with taking Dart, and we have some stack options later.
That's why I like Dart. That's why I like Dart.
I don't think you have to stack in this, but when I'm doing 150 drafts, I'm trying to build in some like balance across my exposure. So the best way to do that for me is to just a lot of the late receivers I'm stacking with quarterbacks, and that way I have a spread out wide receiver pool. And when I do have a wide receiver who's maybe like this second, third, even fourth on some good offenses, like they're likely paired with quarterbacks. So that's kind of how I go about it. You can certainly build strong teams without stacking in college, especially, but typically I'm trying to
I would not do that. I would not do that for this. I mean, this contest is so top heavy. I think you will need to have something approximating like the absolute, like the highest scoring offense in week 14. So
it looks like we're gonna have some strong running back options. I think I prefer Jordan James out of this group if he slips to us, but I'm okay with Ott or Taylor. Jordan James actually he's one of the 2 teams.
Oh, I was gonna say I wanted Avery Johnson there, but I don't care between these 2 guys.
Oregon and Washington have week 13 buys, which is interesting. That playoff pod is only 2 out of 8 advance, so it's a little bit easier to get through than the week 12, but that is a knock on Jordan James. You'll miss him for a key week if you get that far. I like Cal. Cal's moving to the ACC, so it's a bit different. Darius Taylor should be a workhorse, but he gets they run their running backs into the ground. So
don't they? I think Jordan, they play Wisconsin in week 14.
Yeah, which isn't as tough as it maybe used to be.
Will you click on the board view?
Yeah, sorry.
You're good. Okay, so we had 5 quarterbacks go in the first round. Avery went in the second round. My official tout, this is my lone official tout early in the futures market, is that if you can find like a 35 or 40 to 1 Heisman on Avery Johnson, I'll say this. I think Avery Johnson gets invited to the event in New York. That is my hot take early here in the season.
Spicy. He definitely has the upside to put up big numbers. My concern with him obviously is the throwing aspect of being a quarterback, but I think he'll certainly have some big games on the ground.
Has there been a big ADP shift after one day based on what you're seeing? Like has the market kind of regulated itself a good bit?
I mean, this is fairly similar to later yesterday, I think, but I mean, it's slowly been regulating itself for sure. And just having, I think the ADP numbers updated in the system helps the guys who are coming in kind of blind. Like Darius Taylor's not going to slip to the 3rd round at all today, obviously.
I mean, look, there definitely was. I'm positive that there was a draft that took place yesterday where Darius Taylor didn't go into the double-digit rounds. Like just
for sure, just out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, he was so like I did it with Bainbridge and Froton, and we didn't even notice. And we didn't even notice that he went, and then he went in round 5, and we went back and looked, and we were like, oh, well, that's a bit of a mistake. Who is Oklahoma State's quarterback this year with Presley?
Bowman, same guy as last year.
Same guy.
He's
the
pocket
Texas
passer.
Tech transfer.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine, but he's not going to run much. But he's definitely stackable, so I'll give him that. And Oklahoma State does play in some high-scoring games from time to time. So I don't hate. I haven't taken him yet in the 10 drafts I've done, but I could see it, especially if you're like that's a guy I wouldn't draft without having at least one of his receivers for sure. But we're coming up soon. I still like Jackson Arnold and drones on the board. I'm gonna click off to the.
Oh, I thought Jackson Arnold already went. I mean, look, you're not gonna have to talk me in. I made sure to wear my my Oklahoma. I have my Oklahoma and my Kansas stuff on right now. My split elite. Yeah, Jackson Arnold I think is a great selection.
Yeah. We are starting to run into some bye week issues. Like if we have Arnold and Dart missing the first round 12. Of the playoffs. So we're going to have to be mindful of that and make it up elsewhere. On teams where I'm drafting 2 quarterbacks in week 12, I am looking to take a quarterback or two that has a soft week 12 matchup. Like I know Arkansas plays like maybe it's like Mercer in week 12. So that's a bankable 20 to 25 points for Taylor Green, I would think. So things like that. I don't want to overrate the importance of the buys, but it's certainly something that's going to come up.
Taylor Green was the Boise State transfer, and he's at Arkansas now.
Yeah, he ruined my life like twice last year. But
we got benched. He got benched, right? Several times.
And then the championship week of like the college football final, like he went absolutely nuts, and I had like none of them.
None of them.
So that's the kind of player he is. Like just huge upside, can break 60-yard runs. So yeah, we'll have to evaluate. We'll have to kind of. That's why another reason why I'm taking a lot of 5 quarterback builds is because I like these quarterbacks who have week 12 buys just naturally. So I want to have a bit more depth in that position just because it's so important in Superflex.
And now KJ Jefferson is at UCF. I mean, this is I'm shocked to see your ranking on Thomas Castellanos for BC. My memory of him was he was like a really strong DK play at like 5,800, but you were not wanting to chase him up the board.
I mean, he has a huge upside, can run around. I'm a bit concerned that new coaching staff, Bill O'Brien influence is going to try to turn him into more of a passer. I think Sean is a bit higher on him than I am, but I certainly think he's good if he slips to like the 5th round or so. All right, so
Burks, right?
We're building a team that has tons of min cash equity, and we're going to get tossed in the first round of the playoffs. But I can't not take Deion Burks here when we have Arnold. So,
all right, give me the alpha. Give me the alpha on Deion Burks because he's new to the team, right?
Yeah, well, Purdue receiver. Purdue's offense struggled quite a bit. Like, dude just got unlimited targets. Not many of them were catchable, but he was like the one guy on the offense that stood out. So moving into him into a system like Oklahoma with Arnold likely taking a leap this year, I'm insanely high on Burks this year. I mean, Oklahoma does have a lot of receiving depth, but I think Burks can be the standout in that room. At least from a volume perspective. And then you get the occasional like Nick Anderson, like it's going to score 12 touchdowns on like 29 catches this year. So we'll see.
I mean, Oklahoma, it's not the same offensive environment as when Lincoln Riley was the coordinator, but as an Oklahoma fan, I definitely am a little concerned about the move to the SEC. Like in my life, there's been a lot of beating up on Baylor and Iowa State and stuff. Like I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I would more concerned from a real life perspective. I think it could create some fewer of those games where they take the foot off the gas in the third quarter.
There were a lot of those. I mean, there have been a lot of those throughout the years.
Yeah, so we'll see on that. It's kind of a balancing act, but this certainly introduces some tougher matchups and some stay away points for Oklahoma that they're not used to being on the schedule.
This is the first time I've broadcast this on. I've simulcast it on Twitter. I got to be honest. I probably am not going to do this again because there are a lot of people watching, but there are way fewer people watching on the YouTube, which is way better. Well, it's hard to say. It's way better for me monetarily for people to be clicking on to the YouTube, but at the same time, this is like the most live concurrent viewers that I've ever had on a stream. So that's interesting. I will need to dig into the economics of that decision. But we've got Jackson Dart, Jackson Arnold, spelled 2 different ways. That's funny. Jordan James, Deion Burks. How big of a part of your strategy is Gadsden, the Aronde Gadsden II?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been taking him fairly often. He went 25 in this draft. Like anytime he was slipping to like the late third yesterday, I was trying to scoop him up. I think he has the potential to separate at the position. Like if you look, it's a pretty big drop off, I think, between like Gadsden in the tier of his own. Then you have like Brant Keithy, who's been hurt, but Utah.
That's my guy. Brant Keithy
like,
is.
If he's healthy, he could certainly be 2. I think Luke Lachey is right there with Keithy, and I think there's a drop off after that. Then the next tier is like Warren, Vealing. Like Warren scored 8 touchdowns last year. He could be their leading. He's likely to be their leading touchdown guy this year. this is the format where like touchdowns are king, obviously. So a guy like Warren is certainly fine to be your lead tight end. In this format, if I'm taking Gadsden, I'm likely only taking 2 tight ends. But other than that, it's likely 3. But we're up on the clock. I think this is a good spot to grab another running back. Chip Trainum, Marks, and Tootin, all solid. I definitely want to get a guy who's playing week 12. I believe USC plays week 12. I don't have this fully memorized. Yeah, they play Nebraska week 12.
They play Nebraska.
I'm going to leave Marks there to lock in a guy that we know is going to be available for week 12 because we're going to need those points if this team advances. Beyond that, I don't think there's much competition in the backfield at USC, and we've seen USC running backs be pretty productive. Marks has been a solid fantasy performer, Mississippi State. So, I think he's a good pick.
Wakey went 4 QBs to start.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like
I was going to say, like, honestly, I get it.
And that's like a far departure from like the default strategy from the guys who typically do these college football best ball drafts. I think this is just a totally different format. They're usually doing like 30-round drafts where you can take all these guys late and take shots. Here, like all the positions matter. There's only 20 roster spots. You need those 2 like quarterback scores each week to propel your team. Like college football fantasy is a quarterback-driven endeavor. So I definitely like the approach from Wakey. I had plenty of strong quarterback teams from yesterday. And like, if I was drafting off my own ranks, like I would start with like 5 or 6 quarterbacks.
Right. Exactly.
You can't do that and blindly draft on your ranks. So trying to mix in those receivers, but most of my teams are going to be relatively weak at receiver and stronger at quarterback and running back. Also super flexible. You're only starting 2 receivers, so that kind of devalues them a bit. Most weeks, if things are going well, you're
the wide receiver spot, but like this is like a college football DFS thing. $7,000 wide receivers end up being the nuts in the super flex spot in DFS itself all the time but that's on DK full PPR plus bonuses.
Exactly. Yeah. And that okay, we're up again. We can build up our running back.
I like Fields. So Fields is one of the guys
solid
that I feel really strongly about. I mean, obviously, you know much more than I do, but he's a baller.
I'm higher. I know I'm higher on him than Sean is, and Malik Washington is now in the NFL, so opens up some target competition. I'm hoping Calandria starts for Virginia. He's a bit of a gunslinger, throws it down the field. So let's take Fields here. Hey, this pick's on you, so you got to earn your share of the min cash here, and I'll make sure to label this team after.
Yeah, label it, dude. Label it.
So when we min cash, I can Venmo you $0 because that's what a min cash is.
Shout out to ATX Bearcat. I recognize his name on Twitter. This guy has been
around, yeah.
I was gonna say I probably know this guy better than some members of my own family. He's a real one. So shout out to you. So these split quarterback situations, what is kind of your default thought? Do you like yesterday with Bainbridge and Froton, we took both of the Washington State guys super late, I think 16 and 17, but it feels like probably an edge, especially because I think this contest literally is going to be open for a week and then it'll be filled. I think if you are doing 150 or even if you're doing 50, the move is to draft a bunch of those teams where you just take one of the Washington State guys, one of the Virginia guys or whatever.
Yeah, I think in this format, handcuffing anything is pretty bad, but to each its own. Like I understand the concept of it. I'm not using up 2 roster spots at the same position from the same team. If I have a strong feeling on one of the players in the split, like I'll draft them. I'm not very heavy on these like fringe quarterback situations. That's one of the reasons why I'm pretty heavy on early quarterbacks is like I don't want to deal with that throughout the season. Like
right.
If they don't know their starter now, there's a high probability that there's going to be more than
someone
one
gets benched, a true freshman ends up playing for a game. Like
nobody can sustain the level of play all season. So if it's a situation where it's rough anyway, like there's just a quick hook. And we see this all the time in college football fantasy, even for DFS, like your quarterback gets hooked in the first quarter and you're playing a 1 week contest.
A 1 week slate.
So like that, I want to lock in my quarterbacks. I want to know where my quarterback production's coming from. This format, I don't care at all about handcuffs. I want to make my bets on the guys who I think are going to see the field. And if I don't think they're strong enough play to remain on the field, like I just won't take them. There's so many teams, so many options that I definitely don't want to force in the fringe situations in this format. And that's a bit different than like if you see like a receiver that has a lot of upside, that's young, that maybe is going to start fourth in the depth chart and has the ability to climb up throughout the season. Like I think that's a different proposition than like taking split backfields or quarterbacks.
Kobe Hudson, who just went right there. I really like Kyle Williams, who went right there. These were just some of the guys. Like I was thinking through like who would I want to be taking stances on. Is Travis Hunter in the player pool? I didn't even look. Is he listed in the player pool?
Yeah, he is. He usually goes around like in the 40s, so I'm not going to get much of him at all.
Yeah.
Like he's a fine play. Yeah, the highest wide receiver I have is Nick Anderson.
Ship it.
That's another week 12 guy, but like
I promise you whatever sim we could put in. Question ATX is asking, are you guys gonna post rankings with the college football product?
So we're working on rankings now. College football product's not live yet. When it does go live, our plan is to release rankings. I'm not sure when that'll be. Probably at least another week would be my guess. But
so hopefully by then.
Yeah, we plan on covering rankings within the college football product.
Hopefully by then, our message will have gotten through to Hope Bishop and to Shane Newman and our friends over at Underdog Drafts, and they will have posted my perfect contest is $15 entry, $50,000 to first, $250K prize pool. Does that sounds about as perfect as a contest could get. And if you are listening, our friends at Underdog, I promise you, I'll make a promise to you. I will do 2 streams a week, and I will help you fill that contest. If they do in fact launch one that big. Nice. I will do my Trayshawn Holden for Oregon is the Puka Nacua of college fantasy football per C Slave.
I
literally don't know who that is.
Agree to disagree, but he's like probably the 4th receiver on Oregon. So I think we need to start addressing our quarterback situation.
Yeah.
I think I might have taken Tyler Shuck in every draft I've done so far. Louisville quarterback. He used to be.
How is that how his name is pronounced? How is it Shuck? How is it not Shao?
Buddy, I don't know.
I am so familiar with this dude's game. I have played this guy in DFS for so long.
So I love Brom's system. They were a bit limited with Jake Plummer last year. So I think he has the ability to put up a solid season. He's going late. He plays week 12, which is something we need. So we're going to start going down.
Is that the answer to your favorite non-week bye 12 quarterbacks? Is Tyler Shuck?
I mean, that's certainly one of them. And I have a lot of like on my Arnold and Drones teams, I have a lot of Shuck in there. So yeah, there's some other guys that we can look at late, but I think we need to get, probably 2 more quarterbacks that definitely play week 12. And then both of our running backs play week 12. Our 2 Oklahoma receivers don't play week 12. So we need to address receiver at some point, but like, Louisville has some guys that can stack with Chris Bell and then like Ja'Cory Brooks.
All right.
Maybe
that was going to be one of the things I asked is where does Dart's wide receiver start to go? Because that's a team that rotates their wide receivers a ton.
Yeah. Well, Trey Harris goes super early, so we didn't get him, but Antoine Wells comes over from South Carolina. Likely wide receiver 2, so like that's our guy if he makes it to us.
And didn't their slot guy just graduate?
They had so many receivers going through.
Well, Daywood Davis, I know, was in the USFL. So he's been gone for at least a year, but I have a lot of college football DFS memories of him.
Yeah, and Zachary Franklin was there last year. He's showing Mississippi. I believe he's on Illinois actually right now. So That's not
That's
a
got to
stack.
that's got to be such a nightmare for them on the like the player ID side. Like someone was mentioning this to me yesterday. Like how many guys are going to end up playing and be viable for college football DFS who are just not in the player pool at all, who do not have an underdog player ID, who are not going to be in this?
Hopefully they get it sorted out. He was like a really late move, I think. So maybe they just had like an old data set from a provider or something. So that stuff should get ironed out, hopefully. But yeah, we got 5 picks to see if Wells can slip to us. If not, one of my favorite plays in all of this is Cam Cook for TCU. There's just a huge opportunity for him to seize the job. He's super high recruit, lots of upside.
And you don't even have to be good. Amari Bailey had like 1,500 yards last year, and he stinks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a good scheme, good opportunity, and good price. So we
I
have
don't
our
think
backup there.
I don't think they can get bye weeks in the underdog interface because these teams have multiple bye weeks.
Yeah, every team has 2 bye weeks. So like I'm glancing off screen, I have a sheet up with like the buys and the playoff schedule, but there's just a billion players, so it's a mess. So until you start like getting some of this in your head, it becomes tough to do multiple drafts at once. I tried to do like 3 drafts at once yesterday, and it was a total nightmare. So yeah, definitely a bit of a learning curve. And Bud Elliott takes Wells. Thanks, Bud.
Thanks, Bud.
We'll just go down the Cam Cook.
Ship path. Is that good? Is that good for our bye weeks?
I believe they play. Hopefully, TCU.
If someone wanted to like full virgin this, basically, like if someone
Cam Cook doesn't play week 12. God damn it. Okay, we're okay at running back at least with James. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. What's your idea?
Just like if someone wanted to, there's probably not enough money because it's what is it, 10K to first. Like if someone wanted to full virgin this and build like what Brick has with the draft caddy for NFL, where there was an overlay. If someone wanted to build that in like a week or 3 days or whatever, I mean, they could have some crazy plus EV teams. I think
this is true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be. It's not going to be me. But
prefer to lose like a man with my mistakes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I did not know this. Apparently, Spike Week is going to have an overlay. Maybe I did. Maybe I did see that Beim4 tweeted that. I think they were going to do rankings, bye weeks, playoff matchup strategy articles, core picks. I didn't see anything about an overlay there. But maybe they can just add it to the overlay they already have built. It's probably not that hard. And maybe it is. I don't know. Wrong guy to ask, I guess.
That's what you do when you don't program. I am not a programmer either. I just hack together stuff.
Yes.
And, like, when you just say it's easy and then like let someone else
do it. Yeah,
I think we're gonna break the seal on the tight end and go Tyler Warden.
Look, if there's anything that I know that's Oregon State,
Penn State, sorry, tight end.
If there's anything that works out, it's always a Penn State tight end. You know, those guys historically have been so good.
Yeah, I mean, he had 7 touchdowns. He's pretty good. Like, and I don't want to shout out any Penn State guys. Obviously, I rather have Sean suffer with this Penn State loser.
Oh, I know, so annoying. I do have a take. I have a sleeper take, which is Justin Joly, the North Carolina State tight end who transferred from UConn. One of the guys in the Discord, bitter Jazz fan, has like shouted him out as like his like number 1 sleeper tight end, and I kind of looked into it, and it actually makes sense. Like he actually does look like a guy who might be like a real breakout.
Yeah, UConn was awful, and he was really productive for them last year. He's going to play more like a receiver than like an inline tight end, I believe. So he's definitely pretty high on my ranks. I don't think I've gotten him yet, but we'll put him in the queue, and maybe we can sneak him in as our second tight end.
Nesbitt is a good pick. I don't know who's playing quarterback for North Carolina this year, though. Is it going to be another incredibly divisive future NFL quarterback? Oh, it's Max Johnson.
No, Max Johnson's awful, but
yeah,
like he'll throw it short, so like it's not full PPR, but like I just struggle to see UNC replicating their offensive outputs the last 2 years with Drake
Max
May, who
Johnson was at LSU, right?
and then Texas A&M, I believe,
Oh,
before
yes.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
I
just like
remember.
a below average college quarterback, probably with not much upside. I don't know. I was kind of surprised to see him land there, but I don't like the UNC offensive coordinator. Drake May covered up a lot of issues last year, and it was all on his shoulders. May's gone, so I'm a bit.
What Harrell is this? Is this? Don't tell me this is Graham Harrell's kid on the University of North Carolina.
I hope not. Jeez.
That would make me feel incredibly old if it's Graham Harrell's kid about to start a college football game.
I don't think so. What is it, like Connor Harrell or something?
Above that is way above my pay grade. I mean, I'm just happy. At this stage, I'm just happy to like still recognize teams.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting best ball to pop up, so I'm like behind where I would have been if I knew this was coming, because I don't do the season long stuff, so I start my prep more aggressively, like usually later in July. So still catching up on a lot of this stuff too. So don't feel bad.
It is Connor Harrell, who I don't think is Graham Harrell's kid. He's definitely not. He's definitely not.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that too.
So let's say bye weeks weren't an issue. Like let's say every quarterback, like every team played every week. Would you think 4 quarterbacks is optimal, but the bye weeks make it 5?
I still think you want 4 to 5. Maybe if you take 4 in like the first like 7 or 8 rounds, you stop at 4. But I just think having that depth at quarterback is pretty important in this format.
My thoughts on Noah Fafita, no one really needs them, but I think he is a super sick pick. I think he looks underrated and he's very stackable.
Yeah, the issue with stacking with him is that he's only throws to
McMillan.
Yeah. All right. So we're on the board. We need let's just
I'm good with Brooks or Jolie, or I was gonna say we could take Taylon Green and be done at quarter. Oh, I guess he's way down. Yeah. But if we took him, we could maybe be done at quarterback.
Taking Taylon Green. I want one more with our 2 guys being on week 12 buys, because I think I want 3 live quarterbacks. Have the possibility of 3 live quarterbacks in week 12. But
Arkansas plays home to Texas in week 12.
Yeah, and like just another thing with the quarterbacks is like the level of competition varies so greatly, way more than NFL. So there's going to be weeks where like Dart and Arnold like potentially both have tough matchups. Yeah. So like it just helps having a deeper pool at quarterback, I think, because obviously have to sacrifice a bit at running back and receiver, but I feel better about taking shots on late running backs and receivers, actually providing value to my teams, as opposed to taking late quarterbacks who I think there's a very low chance that they actually are going to like put up scores that play in this format.
Do we have is there a new JSN, Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Ohio State freshman wide receiver?
Jeremiah Smith would be the closest thing, but noted runner of the football, Chip Kelly, is their offensive coordinator, and then they have 2 stud running backs. So I think
isn't Will Howard their quarterback now?
Yeah, so like I think they're going to be a more run heavy team than they typically have. All right, so on the clock again. I think we need to. Man.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get fairly thin. It feels
okay.
like.
I'm just gonna lock up quarterback. Like Sorsby is like the last guy on the board that I feel decent about. So we're wrapping up quarterback.
Let me tell you,
in around 12,
Baron Morton might feel good, and you might want to take him, and he might have like 3.5 good starts. Texas Tech will play a minimum of 3 quarterbacks this year, and probably more.
It just happens. Well, maybe Morton will finally be healthy and be fine, but I'm not counting on it. Yeah, Baron Morton just never seems to live up to what
Donovan Smith, Tyler Shuck, Miles Price, Baron Morton. I mean, it's Miles Price is actually the punter. Jake Strong.
Yeah, Donovan Smith's going to be even rougher this season because Houston has a new coaching staff. I believe like the Tulane coaching staff, so like they're going to be more run
They're
focused,
going to
slower
run
team,
heavy. Yeah.
just slower pace offensively for sure. And Donovan Smith's not great anyway. So
That's
all
one
right,
of the
so
things that's one of the things that would kill me in these is just being like, oh, Houston, they run the spread, they throw it, and I log in. And I'm like, wait, actually, no, they just want to be Penn State. Not good.
yeah, so that guy Jeremiah Smith we are talking about just went in the 12th.
Choco Taco, maybe he's listening, and he took Carnell Tate. Does he have Will Howard too?
Yeah, I took
Yeah,
him
he
early,
does.
so he has a
Yeah.
stack at least. Good luck with that. I wish you the best, Choco Taco.
That I mean, Ohio, that feels like the team that is ultimately going to get they are going to get crushed by being too good. They just are up by so many points in
Man,
so many games.
their defense is going to be so nasty. Like this is like the all-in Ohio State year. They spend a ton in the portal. Like they are stacked. Surprised they don't have a better quarterback, honestly, to make it all work. But they're going to be quite good this year on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, why didn't they get KJ Jefferson? KJ Jefferson is a better quarterback than Will Howard is, I think.
Maybe Will Howard's better at handing the ball off, and that excited
Yeah,
Chip
I guess
Kelly.
because they have Judkins and Travion Henderson. I mean, that's such a funny thing with the NIL is these good running backs. These good running backs are just going to stay all 4 years now because they make
might
more
even
money.
Yeah, they'll make more money and like less wear on their body than a full NFL season. So I could definitely see the running back starting to stay a bit more.
This is like the number one guy that people want to talk about in the chat is Dylan Raiola, the new Huskers quarterback. What is the deal? Are people all who's the Matt Rule is the head coach there now?
Yeah, my problem with them is I think they're going to be better overall and have more positive game scripts. And when that happens on Matt Rule teams, like he's generally going to slow the game down, control the ball, and run and not take huge shots down the field. Raiola's not a big runner, at least from what we've seen so far. But yeah, we're gonna take another tight end, Jack Valine, Michigan State. He comes over from Oregon State with their coaching staff and quarterback in Childs. So I think Valine's a pretty good receiving option. I'm actually kind of surprised. Do you think they would have combined wide receiver and tight end in one position if it was like easier from like a programming perspective? Like my thought is that probably they didn't want to like build out a new system. They just want to like repurpose what they have, a structure from NFL, because the Superflex here is exactly the same as NFL Superflex.
Yeah, that was the first thing. That was the first thing I thought was that there won't be a tight end. There will not be a tight end position because most fantasy I can't like on FanDuel you don't play a tight end either. So on all the DFS sites there is no tight end. John, they are gonna when the college football package goes live on Established to Run, when Alex and Sean get their stuff up, they are gonna have rankings. And if they launch a bigger one, I will commit to doing some sort of ETR related. We'll hop on and we'll be ripping these drafts.
Yeah, and don't think the rankings I have here are gospel. It's just me like throwing together some stuff so I can like not forget about players while drafting these early. But we are definitely working on ranks behind the scene. Turns out it's not as easy and not as fun as I thought. Who would have thought that?
Rankings? Yeah. Ja'Cory Brooks, right?
Yeah, we might be able to get him later, but we need week 12 receivers. I think we have Shuck.
I think this is fully get your guy season.
Sure. I mean, that's the reason why I don't see a ton of these receivers. Like they're not very different in my eyes at this point of the season. Obviously, some will outperform others, but that's why I tend to stack just because so I have some correlation built in, and then I can spread it out among drafts. There's a few guys late that I have some conviction on that I'll take standalone. We'll talk about hopefully one of those guys in the next round, but yeah, it's tough. Like we don't know depth charts. Like we know this receiver could be the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 5. So there's a lot of unknowns at this point. But yeah, our team's coming together a bit.
Hoover, yeah, someone posted them in the members Discord. There's your shill to get a membership to the channel. If you get the $5 membership to the channel, we've got a college football channel inside of the Discord, and these dudes are grinding. I went to bed last night and they were posting cheat sheets, and I woke up and they were still grinding in there. So shout out to I Like Sports too. Look, I would love to sauce your guys' teams for this. I literally do not know enough. I literally give me 10 days of grinding these contests and I will know enough to sauce your team, but I can't tell you if you drafted good or bad yet.
Yeah. So like this is why I'm taking quarterbacks early, like from 13th round on. Like I don't like any of these quarterbacks for best ball.
I like Rocco Becht. Hot take. I like Rocco Becht. I think he's all right.
He's all right. It's just like, I don't know. It doesn't quite do it for me. So I'm sure one or two of these guys is going to have a quality season, put up some upside games, but I just mostly won't be there for it. Like I don't see the upside case in Donovan Smith, Drew Aller. Like, come on, Penn State. They want to run the ball 55 times a game and then throw to their tight end in the red zone. So I'm okay just having Tyler Warren exposure. Some of these guys late, like maybe even like Levitt and Rourke are a bit more interesting, especially if you can get them in like later rounds than this.
Is Curtis Rourke Nathan Rourke's brother?
Yes. Curtis Rourke used to play in Ohio. Ohio runs the slowest offense in the country. It's so frustrating because DK would post him like 5,100 versus like some shit MAC school, and you're like, okay, just get me 15, buddy.
Just give me 15.
And like they just play so slow. But I think we can run a little bit. Much more interesting in the Indiana offense, which is the JMU coaching staff, and they had a really fun fantasy friendly offense. So all right, we are going to unleash the secret weapon in CJ Daniels.
All right, why is he the secret weapon?
Well, LSU lost a lot of targets with Neighbors and Brian Thomas going to the NFL.
They lost all their targets, yeah.
But they still have a quality offensive line. Nussmeier, I think, is going to be pretty good at quarterback. CJ Daniels is super explosive, comes from Liberty, one of the better receivers in the country, at least what I saw with my eyes last year. Big play guy down the field. I think he fits the format here of half point PPR and like touchdown heavy importance very well. I think he's going to be LSU's wide receiver 1, and we're getting a team that will likely score 35 points a game at least in the 15th round. Sign me up for that. So we'll see.
Because Bowman stinks, dude. How does Bowman throw the ball 500 times and only throw 15 TDs? I mean, he's brutal. And Oklahoma State is brutal. I bet on them a couple times last year. Like, it was not a fun experience. Not a fun experience. All right, CJ Daniels, file that name away. Number 1 wide receiver for the Heisman Trophy. Is the offensive coordinator and everything the same as last year?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I don't think they lost anyone from the coaching staff. All right, we need running backs, and we're on the clock.
Yes, we do.
So we are going to take a shot on Ruben Owens.
Ship it.
Let me check and just make sure Texas A&M plays week 12. I'm not going to get it in time, but I believe they do.
We better hope so. Yeah, Texas A&M last year was they were one of those backfields that was a little annoying. They had they had 6 dudes get over 20 carries.
Yeah, Le'Veon Moss is the other guy who could end up being running back 1. I think Owens probably is a slight favorite, but I wouldn't hate taking shots on Le'Veon Moss late too. But yeah, I think I like the potential of their offense if Connor Weigman can stay healthy. Like, I think there's going to be pretty productive. So I like taking a shot on him pretty late. So we're still kind of light at running back. Unlike NFL non-super flex, I think you want to balance running back and receiver quite a bit more. I think you do the same in NFL super flex, but typically I'm looking to have at least 6 running backs on a team, and I'm okay going like
I mean,
5,
running backs
6,
score so many points in fantasy football, in college fantasy football. Like a good, Cam Cook could show up with multiple 37-point games in this format. He could score 4 touchdowns against Iowa State or whatever. It's like so completely possible in a way that it never is in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. So just looking at who's left on the board at running back, like none of these guys stand out as like amazing options, but like Khalil Mullins for Michigan's kind of interesting. I just don't see Donovan Edwards being like a workhorse running back. So I
Dude, he
think
was on the cover of NCAA 25, and you don't think he can be a workhorse running back?
because of two long runs in the national championship game, he's all of a sudden a different player. Like I like him, he's a fun player, he's good receiving back, can break big plays, but I don't see him as the guy that's like full on replacing the Blake Corum role. I think that's probably spread across more options. I think Mullins has a chance to be fairly productive. Do you think they're going to run like Edwards on goal line? Maybe, but if it goes Mullins' way, I think he could be a touchdown heavy back at a really cheap price. I might wait on him because I think we can get him a bit later, but other options like CJ Donaldson, Jaheim White's probably going to be the one, but like if he goes, that's going to be a split backfield in some way. Yeah, it just gets kind of rough. I don't really like our depth at running back, if we're being honest, but
no,
we sacrificed a bit.
Where is Treshaun Ward at Florida State still?
No, he's at Boston College. He'll split with Robichaux. That's another guy where I'll probably take bets on Ward outperforming him, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. Dallin Hayden, Colorado should be improved in the offensive line, but still don't love the spot, even though they should run a bit more. Roydell Williams at Florida State, like I think we have a decent shot at getting some touchdown production from him. So I'm gonna click Roydell.
I'm not going to argue against a 17th round running back when you've started to do the research. Oscar Delps, I think, is not good. So maybe is this Eurosec guy legit? He transferred from Stanford to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia runs a lot of 12 personnel, so you're going to see them both on the field. However, I just don't think the tight end involvement in Georgia is going to keep up to the same levels as it has. When you have Brock Bowers, you throw to the tight end more.
Right.
Funny thing. So I could see Delp run way less routes than Bowers, obviously. So I think their offense might be a little bit more wide receiver focused than it has been. And with Delp and Eurosec kind of competing for targets underneath, I don't love either. I'd probably side with Eurosec just because we've seen a bit more upside from him at Stanford. And but neither guy are ones I'm going out of my way to target. One interesting tight ends like Jalen Conyers, who comes over from Arizona State. Texas Tech usually doesn't use a tight end much, but I think they might.
But they have
him and
they
ways.
have Jason Morrow. Anybody?
Jason Morrow, legend.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's interesting as well. And Garrett Oakley is filling the Ben Sinnott role, possibly. I think he's decent as well.
I'm just wondering if there's anything to be had on Georgia, if Georgia has to play more competitive games this year with Texas and OU coming in. Like they are and do you think they would be interested at all in getting Carson Beck Heisman votes? Like is that something they do, or do they not care at all?
I kind of think they don't care much, but we'll see how that goes. I just don't see the potential for Beck to put up Heisman-worthy numbers. We took Conyers there, wrapping up our tight end spot.
Ship it. Yeah, like if you look at their depth chart, Bowers is gone, McConkey's gone, Rosemy Jack Saint is gone, I think. One of Lovett or Jack Saint is gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team I always delay looking at their depth chart because it takes like an hour just to like make sense of all the names there. Like
right.
They just have been a spot where they rotate so much that it's hard to find value. And it's not like we're taking like 3K receivers in this format. Like we need guys who are actually going to be productive consistently across the season. So those teams that mass rotate are really tough for this format.
Yeah, and they will continue to mass rotate until other teams start to get close to them in ability, which, you know,
it does. I mean, with nil stuff, it's just going to separate the top more. So I don't see that in the
Although
future.
maybe Bama will be worse in the non-Saban era. Like maybe Bama will be there'll be a power vacuum for, you know, maybe Florida or the University of Miami to return to their prominence. Yeah, I was
Could be.
wondering. I know
It'd be
you love this
interesting.
dude. I know you love this dude.
He just gets hurt so often, and Jaheim White definitely showed out last year. So I think Donaldson's going to be a more rotational piece, but I think he has a decent chance at getting goal line. And we don't have Garrett Green on this team, so they're not. I wouldn't be competing directly on my team, so I might take a shot on Donaldson. We need another running back. Donaldson plays week 12. Rashad Amos comes from the MAC to Ole Miss. Like Ole Miss is another team that rotates a lot. They're going to be rotating in running backs. I'll be curious to see how much he actually sees the field because he had a pretty big year for Miami of Ohio.
Garrett Green, I'm looking at their stuff from last year. Garrett Green as a first round pick, I don't know. I don't know.
Dude's awesome.
He runs a ton, but I wonder if in this format where you're really wanting to correlate, like you're kind of losing a little bit of edge because who do you want to correlate him with? You don't really want to take any of his wide receivers. Like that's a team where the production is like insanely spread out.
Yeah, you can take Jaden Bray late. He's a transfer from Tennessee. I mean, I think I'm fine just having Green without any receivers. Like, dude had 775 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. Like, that'll play. So he has some weapons in the receiving room. I think Green's like one of my favorite plays in the late first, but I could see the hesitancy.
Any interest in year 6 Ulysses Bentley? He was the backup running back behind Judkins for Ole Miss last year.
Yeah, I mean, he could be okay. I just don't know what they do from a rotation perspective. Like, he's a guy that they don't seem to want to lean on ever. So, I mean, he's certainly fine as a late round shot. I don't think he goes very. He went already in this draft, but
yeah, he just went. Yeah, it's hard to say if they would rotate or not because their backfield before was 2 NFL guys and Judkins and Evans, and then before that it was Snoop Connor, Harry Parrish, Jarrett. That was the Corral years, and that was a different OC, I think, if I remember correctly. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
So
we're up.
We need another receiver. Donovan Green missed all last year with an injury. He has a good shot to be wide receiver 1 for Wake Forest. Even though I hate their quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, like I think he's.
Oh my God, the Boise guy.
Yeah, who was at Louisiana Tech last year and was awful. So we'll see how that goes. Their offense usually produces some favorable receiver results. I'm going to take a shot on Green. He plays week 12. We need that on this roster. So, thinking through this, let's look at our receivers. Like we have 2 Oklahoma guys who are not playing week 12. So we'll have four live receivers potentially for 2 spots in week 12, I think is okay.
It feels like the Texas wide receiver rotation has got to be super strong. Their top 5 pass catchers all moved on, which is, you don't see that very often, but Worthy, Mitchell, Sanders, Whittington, and Brooks are all NFL players now.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys coming in to compete for those targets. Like Jonte Cook was a big recruit. Like he's still there from last year. He should get a chance to have a big role. Matthew Golden comes over from Houston.
Matthew Golden, 1, was very good for Houston, and 2, Matthew Golden is just a college football stud ass name. Like a dude named Matthew Golden is just going to be a good fantasy football receiver. Is this Jamal Banks? Is he on Wake Forest right now? Late transfer. Is that true?
Banks came from Wake Forest to Nebraska. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. We need another running back. We're weak at running back.
Yes, we are.
Man, we could take Dick Reese. Like he's always good for a couple touchdowns randomly, but
that's a good. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a good $3,800 guy. I'm just begging. Like I just need a 63-yard touchdown. Ship it.
Yeah, we should go that.
Are Ward and Robichaux? Is there a starter there, or is that just a split?
I believe it's a competition. I don't really know. I'm treating it's not something I'm not looking like up Boston College news in depth right now, so might be a blind spot, but I don't have any huge interest in that team. Like I don't
I
know.
was
One
gonna
of those
say
could emerge.
I'm probably stuck in like 2019, but that is I guess because Castellanos runs so much, but that is a team that used to just like give us a nut running back all the time.
Yeah, they like never split. They just like ran one guy like Minnesota does. But
AJ, I mean, AJ Dillon, Andre Williams, all those dudes. I mean, yeah, a long and storied trend of yeah, that one is a little interesting to me.
yeah, so this team's okay. I like some parts and pieces. Don't love our running back room, but it's okay. Um, I like our receivers. I don't like the scheduling aspect of it, and I think our tight ends are pretty solid. So I think it's a pretty solid team. I'd give us like a B minus.
I think if you're gonna pick one of the spots to be weak at, it's probably, well, would you rather be weak at running back or wide receiver? I think it's kind of hard for me to say.
I'd rather probably be a little bit weaker at wide receiver, and also, yeah, that's the challenge. We took Donovan Greenlight, where I could have correlated that with some of our quarterbacks. We had like Tyron Smith's at Cincinnati, like he could be interesting. Yeah, there's just a few options that maybe go in here and name this the Mattek draft. So
sick. I mean, I think after doing so, we've streamed 2 of these. I do think you want to get a minimum of 1 quarterback in the first 2 rounds. I don't really think there's any way around it. I think you definitely want to set. I guess this is the hard part. Is in NFL best ball, like doing best ball mania or whatever. You kind of are able to build backwards. Like that's kind of the easiest way to draft best ball is to build backwards. Know what positions you can backfill, and that's just much harder in this format because your degree of certainty in a 19th round selection in a 68 team league effectively, like we're doubling the size of an NFL draft. Your degree of confidence in finding a starter, your degree of confidence in finding a guy with a ceiling of knowing the bye weeks, like you kind of are. Each selection is opening up all these different roads that you have to take basically, and that is a hard way to draft.
yeah, and it's also easier to draft that way if you have like a base expectation of like how the draft is going to go. Like the underdog best ball drafts for NFL, like for best ball mania, like you kind of get the understanding that receivers are going to go early and stuff. Like these rooms are just all over the place, so it's hard to execute a one plan, and like you're going to result with the best teams if you have a flexible strategy. But that's tough with all these moving parts like bye weeks and stuff and such a large player pool. It just takes some time to get comfortable with it.
100%. And I mean, I think theoretically, let's actually check the fill rate on this. I am imagining there is going to be another. I'm not even imagining. That'll be a Davis Mattek automatic absolute. There will be another contest. This is 18.2%.
Do you think they would potentially go bigger, or just like do like an 80K and then a 60K and then a 20K, like as the season gets closer?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say. They definitely do not want to offer any college football overlay, would be my guess. Like that is why they sized this one so small. Because, well, and to be fair to them, I mean, how would they know? They've never like they don't even have dailies. Like before, I think if I remember correctly, when they've launched products in the past, they've offered like daily contests or smaller contests before offering a really big one. And so I'll guess they run another one. This actually is the big limiting factor. Not every state has college football, so it's hard for them to project like, are our big college football degens in a non-eligible, like that is
I was like, New York is a big state that doesn't have it. There are some limitations.
Ohio doesn't have it, I think. Missouri doesn't have it. New Hampshire doesn't have it. Like just random states where they do not have it. So, not ideal.
I mean, hopefully it grows in popularity though. So I could definitely see something bigger next year. Hopefully I have some more time to plan. The thing is, it turns it into like a season long endeavor, like NFL now. Like you never stop. Which there's pluses and minuses to that, but it's definitely fun having college football best ball around on underdog.
I would be super, super jazzed if this stuff took off in a real way. and if there was basically like an analog to like if this ended up getting, even 10% as big as Best Ball Mania, like if you could like 100K to first or something for college football DFS would just be, or for college football dailies. I mean, that would be sick. And also NFL daily contests are approaching getting solved, I think, in terms of like how to play them optimally. And projections will never be good enough for that to be true for college football DFS, I think.
Yeah, there's just so many games, so many teams. Like, unless you have like a big team, like, but it's hard to justify building together like a big team of like 6 regular employees to do college football projections. Like, it doesn't make sense from a business perspective. So there's limiting factors on like different sides of the equation. And but I think if you put time in and understand players, teams, and put some work in, you can certainly carve out a nice edge for yourself in these kind of games.
This is a good question. Yeah, I basically run good Rick. Any plans to have the Patreon and YouTube members link? Speaking as a Patreon member, I tried to do this. I tried to add permissions. Basically, from Patreon's end, they don't let me mess with the settings. So like I will have to. I think I'll be able to do it, but what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to download your guys' emails and then import them into YouTube's backend. So it's a little bit of a hassle, but that will be coming. Alex, when are you guys are trying to have the beginning of the college football product launch on ETR?
Yeah, it might be another week or two, but we'll certainly post out on Twitter our plans. Obviously, we weren't expecting to be having this so early, but yeah, we're scrambling a bit and putting stuff together. We don't want to just throw something out that's not good. We want to go through our process and make it very useful and high quality for the end user. So we're not going to rush things, but it will be there when we go live, likely later in the month.
All right. This actually is a good question because I think the answer is no. Are we treating week 14 like week 17? So for example, if you get a Clemson player, are you taking a South Carolina player, UGA, Georgia Tech? I think the answer is no. And I think the answer is no for this reason. NFL DFS, much more of a micro edges game. The correlations are going to make the team. Structure is going to make the team. I think right now this is a player takes game. I think it's going to reward player takes 100x. Like if your player takes are just so much likelier to be rewarded versus making sure like who does Oklahoma play in week 14? I don't even know. But and also matchups are so disparate. You will see teams in college football win a week 14 game 47-10 or whatever. Like the correlations are just not 1-to-1 the way it is in the NFL because the talent gap is large. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, and it's also very much team dependent. Like, I'm not going to force a stack if like a team is playing like Georgia or like
Right.
even like USC who rotates receivers deeply. Like I think you're forcing it. There's so many players in the player pool.
Well, that is, now that I know that's pretty interesting.
That's different,
those are
obviously,
because those are
like,
two teams that could go nuts.
Yeah, so I think that's a fine strategy if you on Oklahoma or LSU teams that you use that as like a reasonable way to build a team. I think there's some added upside in having that correlation for that's a game that could go absolutely nuts for sure. So I don't mind that at all, but it's really team dependent, rotation dependent. And it all comes down to like NFL, they're running like what, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6-man wide receiver rotations in a game. Like even in close games, some teams are playing like 8 to 10 receivers in a game. Like it just varies among teams. So that's like for DFS, we're typically more focused on teams that are not like rotating receivers. They play more snaps, get more targets, that kind of thing. So there's just like a balancing act between it becomes too thin to force correlation in some spots. But like the example you cited with Oklahoma and LSU, that's certainly fine. Go nuts. I wouldn't reach
100%.
an extra round to have a correlation, but like if you're deciding between two guys and they're in similar range, certainly go for the added correlation.
100%. Like I think, I mean, why I'm so excited about this, like why I'm like, oh, I want to start streaming this, I want to be drafting in these, is because not that NFL best ball is solved, but it's just like when I do these teams, I'm like, by the time I make like my third pick, I'm like, well, I just know what this team is going to look like. I could basically draft it with my eyes closed, you know.
How
and
how many
you don't
NFL
have to
drafts
do
do you
that.
have where it's like 80% same, like both structurally and players, and like you're choosing between 1v1? I think this is going to be a bit more all over the place. It's easier to get some diversification among your teams, so it's definitely a different game.
100%. Yeah, it is a different game.
Not always more fun in every aspect, but certainly more things that are unknown to the most people drafting.
When you get it right, it's more fun. Like getting I mean, is there anything better than having money on a game, whether it be DFS or pick'em entries or whatever, and it goes into college football overtime? You know, like it's just you're like it's truly one of the greatest feelings I've had in sports speculating. All right, guys, we are going to get out of here. Like I said, actually, if you are this far in the video, leave a comment on the YouTube and let me know if you watch this on YouTube or if you watch this on Twitter. There are right now 1,034 concurrent viewers, but on YouTube, there are 40 concurrent viewers, which is, to be honest, for me, not sustainable. So it's awesome that so many of you guys are watching, but my Twitter account is already at a nice size. I don't need to grow the Twitter account anymore. I'm much more financially incentivized to grow the YouTube. So let me know how you watch this. Let me know if you guys are interested in more of these. Like Alex and I both enjoy it. I enjoyed doing the show with Mike and with Eric yesterday. Thor wants to do a stream as well. So I definitely would like to continue doing
Good
these.
luck getting Thor away from the NCAA, the college football 25 video game.
Dude, he was supposed to come on. He was supposed to come on
dynasty
yesterday.
mode right now. Come on.
He literally messages me at 6 a.m. and he's like, I'm a game time decision to come on the podcast. I literally stayed up all night playing NCAA 25.
What a sicko. Sicko.
Have you downloaded it? Have you started playing it?
Yeah, it turns out when you're old and you go back to video games, you kind of suck. So
Dude.
I'm very, very good at throwing 5 interceptions a game. And like I moved it up to like the second hardest difficulty at the beginning. I'm not going to play on like beginner mode, but
I think this is right. I think Choco Taco is correct. I think Twitter literally just counts people who scroll past it as views, but I think he is probably right. So with NCAA 25, this is where I'm at. I mean, you know, I am a sick FIFA Ultimate Team grinder, and I know every little inside and out of that game. I know every control. I know every dribbling mechanic. I know every skill move. I know every hack. And my experience in loading up a video game that I am not good at and don't know anything about, I got about as frustrated as I could possibly get. I mean, I was just like, I'm not good at this. Why do I even want to play it?
Yeah, it's tough. Like when I was a kid, like you find like the plays that work and you just like cheese it to death. But like I don't know any of those now.
I don't know any of those.
The stuff I tried to run, like throwing like outs with like a quarterback with a noodle arm, like just pick six city. It's not good here. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll try, but it might be time to hang up the sticks.
Yeah, 100%. All right, dude. Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you very much for listening and watching. If you have not, check out the members only Discord. You get that by being a member of the channel. And I will see you guys all back Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern with Jacob Sanderson. We'll be doing another marathon Best Ball Mania stream, and I'll see y'all then.